Hi, everyone. Last weekend was Easter on Sunday, and I know that we had a wonderful day celebrating Easter at our house, and I hope that you did too. We had some wonderful reflection time about what the day means, that Jesus had risen, and we had a wonderful meal together, and we also lots of eggs around our house. So, and some Easter baskets. I hope all of you had a wonderful day too. I want to remind everyone, and I need to be reminded of this a lot, Easter is not only actually one day. It is a season. It's an entire season that's 50 days, 50 days. That's a lot of days, isn't it? And this year, the Easter season will end on May 31st. So I wanted to share that with you. In the meantime, I'm going to share the story of the road to Emmaus. And this story starts off with two of Jesus's companions walking down the road from Jerusalem to Emmaus. It was the town, the village that was near Jerusalem. And as they were walking, somebody joined them and said, and do you know who that somebody was? That was Jesus. But they didn't know it. And that somebody said to them, why are you so sad? Why are you crying? Why are you so upset? And one of the men, named Cleopas, said, well, didn't you hear? I can't believe you haven't heard. Jesus, the prophet from Nazareth, he was crucified, and he was supposed to be our salvation, our Savior. And now he's died, and with that, our salvation has died with him. And the man said, but how could he would have to suffer in order to be glorified? And he started telling them and reminding them about what the prophets had taught them for many years before. And they enjoyed talking with him so much that they asked him to please join them at their house in Emmaus, and to please join them and have a meal. And so they all went to Emmaus, and as they started the meal, the man blessed the bread and he broke it. And as he did that, they realized who it was. They realized it was Jesus. And just as they realized it, the man, Jesus, disappeared. And they were so amazed. They said to each other, gosh, couldn't you feel like that feeling that I had as we were talking to him? We should have known it was Jesus. And they were so excited. They went running down the road back to Jerusalem to share the news with the disciples. And they shared the news with the disciples. And only 11 disciples were there. Everybody was there except for Thomas. And as they were telling the story of their seeing Jesus, all of a sudden, guess who appeared? Jesus did. And they gasped when he appeared. He said, peace be with you. And they looked at him and gasped. They were so scared. And they felt like they were seeing a ghost. He said, why are you scared? And they said, we feel like we've seen a ghost. And he said, But would a ghost have flesh and bones? Come, feel my wounds. I am Jesus. I am here. And he said, I'm hungry. And they all ate, and they shared some grilled fish together. And later on, when Jesus had left, Thomas arrived. And when he arrived, they all said, we saw Jesus. Jesus was here. And Thomas said, what are you talking about? Jesus, how could he have appeared? And they said, he was here. We promise he was here. And I'm going to continue my story over here. And so Thomas, do you think he had a smile on his face? He sounded like he was angry. He sounded like he was frustrated with them. And he said, no way was Jesus here. I did not get to see him. I do not believe you. And all of a sudden, guess who arrived? This was a week later. And guess who arrived? It was Jesus. And he said to Thomas, Thomas, put your fingers on my side, touch the holes in my hands, stop doubting and believe. Thomas answered, my Lord and my God. And Jesus replied, you believe because you have seen me with your own eyes, but more blessed are those who have not seen and still believe. So, Thomas was happy to have seen Jesus, but he had to see and touch his wounds in order to believe and to not doubt anymore. Sometimes the story is called the story about doubting Thomas, and that's actually an expression that people will use when people don't believe when other people say things that are actually true. And when you hear somebody use that expression, doubting Thomas, you will now know that it comes from the Bible and from this story when Thomas doubted that Jesus had actually risen and he had to see for himself. So, again, we hear a story about Jesus rising from the dead, and that is the story of the road to Emmaus. I will send some things for you to do on Sunday with your family, because today is actually Friday when I'm telling this story, but I will send it to your parents so that you can all share it on Sunday. And I'll have some activities for you to do and some suggestions of ways to share and spread the good word of Jesus and the celebration that we are all feeling right now in the season of Easter. Lots of love, everybody, and I will see you next week.